Hello everybody, welcome to Sane Game Studios. I am Sane and I am an amateur game developer. Today I'm going to be looking at line of sight for enemies in GameMaker Studios. I'm going to be doing this in a pretty simple way. I'm going to be just running a couple collision checks. So I'm going to have the enemy check for a collision line with the player, and if that returns true, I'm going to run another collision check to see if there is an instance of a wall between the enemy and the player. If you are very new to game development and you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. I'll walk you through. So to start it off, I have a pretty much blank project. All I've done is I've created an O enemy, O player, O wall, and I have created this room, which is just a box with my little O player in the middle of it. For my O enemy, I have no code. For my O player, I have basic platformer code. So all I've done here, I'll go through this real quick. Here, I'll throw it up. Make this a bit bigger. So all I've done is I have set my my player input variables and some basic movement variables. If you don't know what any of these are, I did a basic platformer movement tutorial, and if you go check out that video, it will show you everything that I'm doing here quickly. But here I am getting my player input. I am calculating whether or not I'm hitting buttons. And then I am calculating my horizontal speed, checking whether or not I'm hitting a wall, and then if I am hitting a wall, I am no longer moving, and then I am updating my X position. And then I am adding gravity to my vertical speed. If I am on the ground, I am setting my vertical speed to 0 and saying that I am grounded. Otherwise, grounded is false. If I am grounded and I hit the up key, I jump and finally update the Y position. So if I play that, it just looks like this. So all of the coding we're going to be doing today, we're going to be doing with the O enemy object. I probably will dip into the O player object just so I can show you guys how to do this same code, same idea, but do it for a top-down game rather than a platformer game, because it's really easy to convert and it's really quick to show you, so I might as well get it done. So in the create event, I'm only going to create two variables. I'm going to create one called found player, and I'm going to set that to false because he has not found me yet. And then I'm going to create another one called sight range. I'm going to set that to 300. That's going to make it so that I can see 300 pixels away from the origin of the instance of O enemy. I'll show you exactly how that looks like. So I'm now going to open the step event because those are the only variables we're going to need to declare. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say if collision line. So what collision line is going to do is it's going to create an invisible line from any point that we say. In this case, we're going to say from the position of the enemy, and it will create a line up until any other point that we say, and then it will search for a certain instance along that line. So we're going to start off at the origin of the enemy, so just X and Y, and then we're going to go until X plus sight range. If you had an enemy with movement mechanics, you might want to go X plus sight range multiplied by, movement direction, or whatever variable you use, sine, HSP, whatever. But for this case, we're just going to keep it basic and just go X plus sight range. I'm just going to say Y again because we're not looking at any difference in the Y position. And then we are going to be looking for an instance of O player. This next one, I'm not sure exactly what it is. I can't think of the top of my head, but we're going to set it to false. And you can pretty much always set it to false. The next one we're going to set to true, and this one's important. It decides whether or not we are going to use the instance that is calling it, so in this case, enemy, if it is going to be factored in to the collision line function. In this case, we don't want it to find itself, so we set that to true, which stands for not me, and that just means it won't find itself. So if that is true, we're going to set found player to true. Otherwise, we're going to send it to false. And then just to be able to show, I don't know why I'm very underscore happy today, but just to make sure that it is working and it is doing what we want it to do, we're going to go to the draw GUI event, and I'm going to say if found player draw text x y minus 40 found you. And then also, just so we can see the line, I'm also going to draw a line. And we give it the same parameters as our collision line, so it will be the exact same. That way we have a visual representation of what it is that the enemy is looking at. Oh, forgot to put the enemy in. So now I can drop the enemy into the room. And it's not drawing itself, but that's fine. But yeah, not drawing itself, but that's fine. We don't need it to for the purpose of this video. And then I'm going to walk into that line. Found you. So the enemy has found us. But the big issue with that is that now if I were to place a wall right there and run it again, it still found us, right? And we don't want that. We want to be able to hide behind walls because we are not in its line of sight, but it still thinks that we are. So what we're going to do is we are going to go into the enemy events. We're going to go into the step event. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another one. I'm going to say if collision line. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go X and Y again, but this time I'm going to go to oPlayer.x and oPlayer.y. And I'm going to search for instances of OWall and false and true. So if this is true, then what happened is that in between our origin of X and Y and the player position, oPlayer X and Y, if there is an OWall, this will return true, in which case found player is going to equal false. Otherwise, found player is going to equal true. And If we are not in sight at all, found a player again is going to equal false. See, no longer sees us. If I go to this side of the wall, it does see us. And that is just a very basic way to do line of sight for enemies. So, what if you were playing a top-down game where you're able to move in 8 different directions and you wouldn't be able to use just a collision line? So we're going to look at that very quickly as well. When you have to look at the radius of view rather than the point of view. So here in the step event, I'm going to quickly convert this into a directional movement. Var move 2 equals key down minus key up. VSP equals walk speed multiplied by move 2. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to paste it in there. VSP take a quick look at what I did there. And, oh, I also need to change that into keyboard check, not keyboard check pressed. And I think that should do it. Perfect. So now I'm going to go into the room. I'm going to move the player here. I'm going to move the enemy there. And I'm going to put a wall between us. Okay, but since we're going to be looking at all directions instead of just one, we no longer want to use collision line. Instead, we are going to use collision circle, which is similar, but instead of creating a line and finding instances in the line, it creates a circle based on a radius, and then it will search for things within that circle. So again, I'm going to go X and Y, because the origin is always going to be the enemy. The radius is going to be the sight range. Object will be O player. False. True. I'm going to want to keep collision line here though, because if the player enters the circle, I want to draw a line to the player and then figure out if there is a wall in between us and the player. With that, I'm also going to go back to the draw GUI event, and instead of draw a line, I'm going to draw a circle the same size as our collision circle so we can see the area that we're working with. And then for outline, true, because we don't want a filled in circle, we just want an outline. And then I'm going to run that. And see, now we have a circle. Can't see us, can't see us, can't see us, sees us. Can't see us, can't see us, can't sees us. Right? So it's pretty simple to do it, just running on collision checks. And then like I said, instead of just typing found you on the screen so you know you're found, this is where you would create pursuit code and you would chase after the player and then go and attack them. I'm just showing you how to do line of sights because I was looking online for tutorials on this and I was actually having a tough time finding tutorials. So I figured, since I figured it out, I would show you guys how I did it. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you learned something. It honestly wasn't much to learn, but I hope that the little bit there was, you learned it and you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. And yeah, with that, I'm going to wrap this up. Say have a good one and peace out.